This is the Work at Home Heroes podcast. Your host, Caitlin Pyle, digs deep with people from all over the world who make money from home. Get ready to wake up to a world of possibility for freedom, flexibility, and a life you'll love.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Work at Home Heroes podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Pyle, and I'm here with Korryn Haines. She loves admin, and she has her own business called Encore Admin Consulting, which provides administrative support to small businesses and solopreneurs. And she's been operating from her humble home office since September of 2016 in Brisbane, Australia. Welcome to the show, Korryn.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so excited to have you. And you just had your second baby. You have a 2.5-year-old son-ish. He's 2.5 years old right about now. And you just had your second baby in December. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. He's just recently turned 3. So yes, 2 little ones.
Well, then you're an excellent guest because there's a lot of people in the Work at Home Heroes community who think that they can't work at home because they have kids. And so I'm really glad to have you on. And you're in Australia. There's a lot of people who think they can't work at home unless they live in the United States. And we're all about busting myths on the Work at Home Heroes show. So I'm really glad to be busting some myths with you, Korryn. And you also have a Cocker Spaniel. And I don't know if there's people who don't think they can work at home if they have pets, but if they are and they're listening, then Korryn has a dog too, you guys.
Yes. 3-ring circus.
I love it. So you started in September of 2016. How did you decide you were going to get into working at home?
It was actually thrust upon me unexpectedly, really. I was having no luck finding I can't say actual employment because this is very much a full-time job if I let it. I actually met my first client and she pretty much said, I can't give you a job, but I would like you to do bits and pieces for me. So I kind of fell into it. It wasn't really planned at all. For years I had ideas about having my own business, but I just had no idea what that looked like. So when that opportunity came up, that's when sort of the penny dropped and I went, well, yeah, surely there's other businesses out there that need admin support. So yeah, that's when I started researching and came across the term virtual assistant because I didn't know the term virtual assistant beforehand. So, and that's kind of how I started.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. You basically identified somebody with a problem and they were like, well, I can't give you a traditional job, but here's some problems to solve. And you just solved the problem and you made some money. It's really that simple.
That is, yeah.
In your application, you mentioned that back in 2014, it's a pivotal year for a lot of us, I think. I keep hearing that here come up. You had a triple whammy of life events. Tell us about that.
So, yeah, my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And then shortly after that, I was made redundant from my long-term office job. And then not very long after that, I found out I was pregnant with my son. So
wow.
It was, some would say a perfect storm, really, but it was a tough time. But that was quite a while before I started my business. So all those events kind of helped lead up to having to find myself a new way of doing work. So
now a lot of people would use, a parent having terminal cancer, getting fired. I got fired in 2011. And I kind of did use it as an excuse. And then finding out that you're pregnant, a lot of people would use those things as reasons to not get started. How did you overcome these obstacles and get started anyway?
Well, initially I went, okay, well, this is something telling me, okay, I've got to spend time with my dad right now. And then falling pregnant, I went, well, I can't go applying for normal jobs, really. Yeah, I couldn't walk into an interview and go, oh, and by the way, I'm going on maternity leave in a few months' time.
Right.
So for me, it was working as a temp that got me through the pregnancy. And then my dad passed away when my son was 3 months old. So I had that time with my son and my dad, helping look after him for that last stretch. And then so after the chaos of all that died down, I started thinking about getting back to work. So, and then of course, finding a job with a newborn or a young son, with admin, most companies want you to be there full time. So it just sort of started falling into place where I was doing temp work, and that got to the point where I'm going, well, why am I doing temp work, dropping my son and running at daycare at the drop of a hat? And so when this opportunity came up, it was like, oh, well, this is pretty much temping. why not do it for myself rather than making money for a recruitment agency?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And they make a lot of money. I worked at my last corporate job. We worked with a recruitment agency, and I think that we had to pay probably $3,000 to somebody recruited from there. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. Just that my first client, that one act of belief in my abilities made me stop and go, oh, maybe this can work, because I always use that word on myself. I'm just an admin a lot back in corporate land. Like, what can an admin do? But this business has shown me what an admin can do, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can definitely testify that when I was very, very new in my own business, that was the first thing that I hired out. So I know that there's so many businesses starting up that have need for that exact skill set. And you're right, in the corporate world, and I worked in admin myself when I first got that corporate job, and before I moved up the ranks and stuff, fresh out of college. Actually, I hadn't even graduated yet. And I was kind of like the office peon. Like, I was getting paid probably less than everybody else and had to do more work than everybody else. And you're kind of a nobody. And so you kind of start believing that you're a nobody because that's what everybody kind of treats you like. And then you realize just how valuable you are and what kind of problems you can solve for business owners. And I find my administrative people are the most valuable people to me because I have sanity because of them. So I just absolutely dig it. And I love that you had that light bulb moment when you had that first client, that there had to be a demand or a better way of working instead of, working with that temp agency.
Trying to work with that situation with a young child.
Yeah. So. And so your life before you started working at home, I'm curious, was it puppies and rainbows, or was it, what was it like?
I spent over 10 years working as an admin in various industries, and I sort of went to uni back straight after high school, really. Worked for a bit, started uni, did that by correspondence. Then tried the on-campus thing, didn't enjoy that, missed the money and the working too much. So went back to correspondence and finished my degree. Worked in real estate, hospitality, engineering consulting, local government. So like a sales executive for a big hotel chain as well. So predominantly there was always admin going on with my career in varying size corporates. So just a lot of experience in a different mix of industries, which now I can see gave me some really good groundwork for my current business.
Absolutely. And I can totally relate with, I liked going to school online as much as possible, just because I felt like the time spent in the classroom was just such a waste,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I know people are curious at home listening. They're wondering, okay, so now, Korryn, you work at home. What kind of income are you generating every month?
It varies because I'm being very flexible around my young family. On a really good month, probably around 4,000 Australian dollars a month. So my brain's probably not quite calculating what that would be USD. But on a really good month, or on a slow month, probably around the $2,000 mark. Still pretty much what I would have been getting as a temp, really. So, which is good.
That's great. And it sounds like your environment is a lot more in tune with your lifestyle than it would have been in a temp kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't have a calculator. I mean, yes, I do. I could Google it. I'm at my computer right now, actually. So let's look it up. I mean, that's 4,000 Australian dollars is life-changing money. And Google tells me it's 3,000 US dollars a month. That's amazing. Are you working full-time to generate that?
No. So I'm sort of structured. Well, right now I'm structuring around 3 days a week. So
what? So you're making 3,000 US dollars a month, working 3 days a week. That is absolutely life-changing money, Korryn. And I know there's people at home that are like, oh my gosh, she's in Australia. She has 2 young children. She has a dog. And she had, all these crazy things happen in 2014. What is holding me back? So let's kind of talk about that a little bit, because there's so many mental and emotional challenges that come up when you want to, and you had so many of those. And confidence is just such a buzzword. People want confidence before they ever get started, and they don't realize that, hey, you don't get confidence until you start doing the thing, because then you get good at it. And so what was it like for you?
Well, I was really lucky. My first client, she is phenomenal. She's been in business. Look, she's a mum herself and had been working from home in school hours. So she is one of those people that kind of have that drive. And I think the moment I met her, I probably fed off that a little bit. I guess I've approached all my jobs in the same way. I would just hit the ground running and just keep going and figure it out along the way. I've said it before, like I always used to use I'm just an admin on myself until I just started doing this. I went, well, actually, no, I'm not just an admin. It was quite funny that when I changed my LinkedIn profile with my business info, just the people in my past corporate life that suddenly just would reached out to me and said, oh, I know someone who started their own business. So, or one of my old bosses actually went, oh, you're out on your own. Great. I've started my own business. Come and jump on here. So I guess along the way, I sort of didn't think of it as I don't have the confidence. It's just everything started rolling really quickly. So I just had to keep up. So yeah, just keeping on. And every now and again, you stick your head up and go, oh, wow, look what I've done. And then you get those doubts. But then, yeah, it's you're doing something right just by doing what you're enjoying. So
yeah, regarding fear, I've dealt with fear in many different faces, and I always say that the fear will never go away. It'll just change what mask it's wearing. It'll change the words it's saying. And so the best thing you can do is recognize fear for what it is and just say, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. And honestly, if the thing doesn't scare the heck out of you, then it's not big enough. And so if you're just doing the things that make you comfortable, if you're doing the things that you've been doing all this time and you're still complaining about your life, then you've got to make changes and do the things that scare you. Because if I had I started a website, scared the heck out of me. I'm like, I don't know how to do a website, but if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And you always, have this feeling like you're a fraud and that you're not good enough. And talk to me a little bit about mom guilt, because I know that there's a lot of moms listening and you get the mom guilt of like, oh, I should be spending all my time. And there's mom bloggers that they're stay at home and they don't work at home. They just stay at home. And you start feeling like, oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong by working at home when I could be spending every waking moment doing crafts with my kids, right?
Yeah. And I actually had that idea in my head, oh, you'll be a stay-at-home mum, because my mum was a stay-at-home mum. But talking to her actually a lot, she's like, well, actually, I wasn't at home as much as you think I was. So I'm like, oh, that's right. You did work at nights. So for me, that's like, no way. I would not, well, I do a few nights here and there with my business, but I try not to because that is my family time. So being really clear around what's work time and what's family time's helped with my mum guilt a lot. Yeah, just being really strict on myself, because that mum guilt really can creep in very quickly and you go, oh, wait, where did that come from? But at the same time, my 3-year-old, he goes to kindy, but he absolutely loves kindy on my work days. So the guilt very much quickly went away when I started to see him blossom and saw that was the right thing for him. So, and that's the thing, what works for us may not work for everyone. Just sticking to our own lane and seeing what works for our family, I guess, helps with that guilt a lot too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's excellent advice, because I think it's so easy to look around and see what other people are doing and feel like, oh, I have to do the same thing. And
yeah, I have to do this. I have to do it this way. It's not necessarily the case. And what I'm doing, I'm seeing it all the time. Everyone's saying to me, oh, you're doing so well. And, this is what I'm like, well, yeah, I'm just doing what I need to do. Other people work, other people do it. So it just looks a little bit different. So
yeah, there's a lot of value and staying in your lane. And then if you feel like changing lanes and it's safe, go ahead and change lanes.
That's it.
Your friends can stay in their lane. You can change, you can pass, you can slow down, you can speed up, you can do whatever works for you and your family. And I think that is very key to removing the guilt and setting boundaries, making sure that, and that's something I'm working on for myself. I don't have kids. I have a dog, but it's helping me just with my own mindset to, not look at social media until I've done like my morning routine and got myself out of bed and things like that, and not checking email or social media after a certain time at night, just like whatever, it can wait until the morning, and not taking my, work too seriously, because I really want to focus on taking care of myself, because it starts with you, right? It starts with taking care of yourself, and then it affects your business, it affects your relationships, and it all improves from there. We talk a lot about in the show about the ripple effect. So we're creating a positive ripple effect when we set those boundaries and protect, your time with your family. So your life, how has it improved since you started working at home? What does your life look like now?
Completely different.
Yeah.
Well, in some ways it's the same, but in other ways, like, it's great that I can just shuffle things and be there for my kids if I need to be. Like, when was it? I think it was earlier in the year, my son had a morning tea at his daycare, and if I'd have been in a normal job, there is no way I would have been able to make that.
Yeah.
And I actually only found out about it like a day before or something, and I just went, right, I'm going, and I was able to. So having that flexibility work-wise has been absolutely phenomenal. My husband, he's pretty okay with everything I'm doing. There are times where he goes, you need to put the computer down now and put the laptop down now. But he loves that I'm around just to do things here and there because he has to travel quite a bit for his work. And just the fact that I get calls that morning for jobs when I was temping, and I just have to make it happen and drop my son off within an hour. And that's not ideal for anyone. Just the fact that I can be more planned with the time I'm spending with my family and doing my work has been phenomenal. And like any young family, finances, it's not a huge amount of money, but it helps, and every little bit helps. So for me, that's a massive plus for life now. So
I love it. And so you mentioned that sometimes your husband has to step in and say, hey, put the computer down. What was it like when you were just getting started in terms of your sphere of influence and, people in not just your husband, but your friends, family, people that are in your neighborhood and maybe your neighbor, your mother-in-law, whatever. What do they have to say about you doing this?
It's been quite funny. My husband was like, okay, how's that going to work? And then I set up my little office area, and he's like, okay, because he works in IT. So he kind of gets it for the whole remote working thing. But at the same time, he has had his moments of, you need to slow down, because I do tend to go 100 mile an hour sometimes.
Well, sometimes I was just looking up this quote because it was something that you said reminded me of that. And getting asked to put, my husband has done the exact same thing. He's like, back when I was doing 14, 16-hour days on the regular, he was like, step away from the computer. And I don't regret doing that. I know that it kind of put a strain on our relationship and my other relationships and stuff, but there's a quote that floats around the internet a lot. I see it pretty much every other day. And it says, today I'll do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish what others can't. And you can have a life that other people mostly only dream of. And so while, sometimes those long days are annoying when you're first starting out, it's not always going to be like that.
No.
And now it sounds like you're down to 3 days a week and you've got some balance in your life and you put in the time. So you've got some systems going for you and things like that. You've got to be willing to put in the work. And so many people aren't. Have you witnessed that, where people in your sphere of influence are like, that's nice, it probably works for you, but I can never do that, or, kind of skepticism?
Yeah, my best friend, she's 100% like pushing me the whole way, which is really good. But then there's a lot of my other friends going, you're doing what? Oh, and they don't completely understand it, which is okay because we're all doing our own thing. But I haven't had a lot of really negative kickback or anything. Like, it's been really positive. And a lot of my friends that are mums too, they've gone, like you said, there's no way I could do that with the kids. And it's been a really fun thing to explain it to them, because they go, oh, what do you mean you're doing that? So, and it's opened their eyes a little bit too. So it's been really good in that way. Is they're like, oh no, I can never do that. And then they're like, oh, but maybe I could if that's what you're doing. So just planting that seed has been really, really nice for me.
Absolutely. And that this interview, people are listening to it and you're planting the seed for them right now. They're like, okay, Korryn can do this. Like, what's holding me back, right? And so I'm really, really enjoying this conversation. How do you keep yourself on track all day on the days that you work?
Oh, yes. No, actually, I'm quite disciplined, actually. Although at the moment, my 4-month-old, I've not been getting as much work done because she... It's funny, for a baby so young, she seems to pick up on the moment I really need to do some work. And she starts to pull faces and smile and want to have a chat. So so you have to sort of stop for a little bit. But I'm really big on time blocking with all my clients. I sort of have I don't have a set amount of hours per week, but they give me a list of what they want done that week. So I'm really big on planning my days. As I said before, my son goes to kindy 3 days a week, so that's my tool. That's my absolute head down, bottom up time. And I've now got my newborn. Well, she's not quite newborn anymore. My little one at home with me. So she's quite good in that she's not moving yet. So we'll see how that goes when she starts moving. And she just sits in the office with me and listen to music all day, and I'm big on music, so if I really need to knuckle down, I put my headphones on and go. But yeah, just staying really strict with the times I'm doing. And like you said, social media and things can very easily get you off track. So I have little things that switch my newsfeed off and things like that, so I'm not tempted. But it's a bit hard when you're a virtual assistant because you're kind of in social media land sometimes for your client work. So just, being really disciplined with the time I'm spending.
Yeah, I think that's really wise, the time blocking, and you're not the first guest who's mentioned that. And so you guys listening at home, like, this is an ongoing trend. You've got to be disciplined. And it's hard sometimes because when you're your own boss, you're just like, well, I'll just let myself do whatever I want, right? And I've struggled with that because I don't follow other people's rules well. I don't even follow my own rules well. And so I have to come up with ways that actually get me to do the work. And so a lot of times when I'm just like not feeling it, I don't want to do a certain thing, I'll just set a timer. I'll be like, okay, you can quit, but you're going to do 15 minutes of this or 20 minutes. I'll just decide, okay, how much time do I want, or could I reasonably dedicate to this and get a good chunk of it done? And so I set the timer and I give myself permission to stop after 30 minutes, but often I get into it and I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. I actually like this. And then I'll keep going, but getting started can sometimes be really hard when all I want to do is sit around, or I want to go to the mall, or whatever it is that I want to do. Well, I want to ask you, what's next for you? Do you have any measures in place to make sure that you're growing? Are you happy with where you are? What's next on the horizon for you?
Well, funny you say that, because literally this week is my first week back from maternity leave.
That's exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, so, and it's been an absolutely mental week so far, which is great because all my clients, sat and waited for me and pounced at the first moment, which is awesome.
That's awesome, yeah.
But so I'm really surprised that all my clients have come back on board. I was expecting some drop-off after I was on maternity leave, but they've all come back, so I'm at a really good level now, and I've even picked up a few new clients along the way, which, it just proves how much people need that little bit of extra support in their business. And I'm traveling along really well. Like my days are pretty full with client work, which is always good. I spent my time on maternity leave sort of assessing where I want to go with my business and rejigging everything, because with another child, it changes the dynamic. But I'm just going to keep going and doing what I'm doing because obviously something's working well. And when you're on a good thing, you just keep going with it. And, there's always going to be a little bit of change here and there, but that's usually for an improvement. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm heading at the moment.
Awesome. Well, I dig it. I got one last question for you. I'm excited to see where you go, because I think that you're doing the right thing, just kind of going with it. You got something good. You're going to recalibrate, and I know you're back from maternity leave, and you're just going to keep growing your business. I have no doubts about that. But I know there's still people at home that want to work at home, but they are scared to get started. So what is your advice for the people who are just shaking in their boots right now?
I've actually said this quite a few times to people. Just look at what your capabilities are. Look at your strengths. What do you love doing? And just find a way to do it. I use I'm just an admin line on myself for so long. And the fact that I've been able to turn that into a business it's just mind boggling. So yeah, just sitting and waiting for something to come along doesn't work. So just get whatever opportunity lands on your lap. And if it's right for you at the time, just go.
I want to repeat that just in case somebody didn't get it. Sitting and waiting is not a strategy. It does not work. So you guys are sitting at home, you're just sitting and waiting. Just do it. So thank you so much for being on the show, Korryn. Where can people reach you if they have questions and they want to reach out to you to ask you some follow-up questions about your interview?
So my website is www.encoreadminconsulting.com.au, or you can find me on Facebook. Encore Admin Consulting is my business name. And yeah, I'd love to have a chat with anyone if they want to get in touch.
Absolutely. And we'll tag you in the Work at Home Heroes Facebook group. You guys can head over there and chat with Korryn right now about her episode. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for all these truth bombs that you're dropping in this interview. We're so glad to have had you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Caitlin.
Thanks again for listening, guys. I'd like to invite you to be a part of our Facebook community if you're not a member already. That group is called Work at Home Heroes. There's going to be a link in the show notes to find the group. We'll open up a discussion about this episode, so I hope to see you in there. Until next time.
thanks for listening to the Work at Home Heroes podcast with Caitlin Pyle. Be sure to listen to previous episodes at caitlinpyle.co/podcast. While you're there, read the show notes and check out all the great links and resources mentioned in this episode and more. You can also subscribe to the Work at Home Heroes podcast so you'll automatically be notified when our next episode is available. Remember, as Caitlin says, mo skills means mo money.